right, call the February 2nd Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. We could all rise and pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could go around, so we all know who's here. Obviously, I'm Chair David Rathgeb to my left.
Dane Oaks O'Neill.
Lauren Small.
Kathleen Haynes.
Tim Harris.
Okay. All right, item number 1, budget update.
There is no update.
We got plenty of money, so we're good. Move on. All right.
Waiting for the governor on Tuesday. And of course, the big issue still is what they may or may not do with eliminating property tax this year, which would throw everybody's budget in disarray. But that's kind of quieted down the last few days. But
Was there any update on? Was that at the board meeting that who brought up? Was David Poole brought up that article out in Bucks County?
That was old news.
Old news. Okay.
Well, what that was back in early January, shortly after the first year of PASBO and PASA. I kind of spoke to it because I thought that's what he had in his hand. The State Business Managers, State Superintendents Association, and PSBA all jumped in when this first looked like it was really gaining traction and said, hey, you got to fight this, you got to contact the legislature. And PASBO went so far as to direct the school districts to put together 2 budgets. One without property tax, one with property tax.
Trying to give the legislature an idea how much money they would need to replace. Is that the idea?
They were working with this independent fiscal office, coming up with data as to the impact on various school districts across the state as it related to debt. They have all kinds of spreadsheets that show that there are some districts that have so much debt that they might increase property taxes if the bill said you can levy taxes to the extent of your debt.
Right.
Now, in our case, the question came up, and Jim was at BCIU last week, and the amount of debt that would determine how much millage you could assess for debt is what's in place as of December 31st of 2016. Well, guess who just refinanced a bunch of debt in January of 17? So, what number do we use?
Right.
And we're not the only district that is. So there's just so much speculation. What he was trying to say was, hey, no property tax. Well, not so fast. It's still going to be the property tax to the extent of your debt. And, oh, by the way, you will not be able to borrow for any purpose without ballot referendum. So what do you do come July 1st and they don't have a budget and you haven't been able to levy taxes? We depend on fund balance and our taxes beginning to come in July and August.
Yep.
And they're saying there's no provision for borrowing with a tax revenue anticipation note.
Yeah. If they change the law and they don't get it right, I mean, we probably won't be able to open the doors in September, or if we did, for a short period of time.
The other big if they're going to replace property tax with sales tax and personal income, well, that's about as volatile as it comes to depend on that.
Yeah, I mean, our mission, obviously, our mission here is in this committee is not to pros or cons of tax policy,
That
but
was what he was referring to.
Okay, all right.
An old article that said that HASBO had directed school districts to build budgets both ways.
okay. So old news. All right.
Old news.
Right. All right. So all right, we'll be waiting for that. So, but all right. So capital projects.
Capital projects.
We approved the roof, right? Our last
Yes.
meeting.
And Casey continues to fine tune and gather real hard numbers for other items in the capital projects that'll be reviewed are we still on for the 13th to be determined?
I'm playing phone tag with him. He called me right when I was running in here, so
Well, nevertheless, at our next meeting.
We're trying to coordinate it.
But at our next meeting, we'll be reviewing his updates. But yes, the contract was officially signed today. Mike stopped by. So that's all in place for this summer. But I keep this on here just so that both committees are in lockstep with, and as he comes up next month, I'll have fresh numbers on that.
Okay. And, you know, and then this next item obviously is a combination, you know, in my mind is a combination discussion with CNI, you know, enrollment staffing review, because obviously what comes out of that committee also pertains to this as well, so.
And I gave you what was circulated this morning for
And
January.
kindergarten enrollment's just started, right?
Just started.
Just started. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tamara's been around these numbers for a while, and you know, Dane's just getting his arms around them. But, and you know, what I always suspected was that we would, at some point, start to stabilize. I thought the Thompson numbers and what the drop-off, the continuing drop-off was not, in my mind, was not going to happen. I thought we kind of, it seems to me that we're starting to see that a little bit. Now, whether that continues, I don't know, but, you know, in fact, I have to go back and pull out, I don't have, where the numbers we're at now, where are we at as far as Thompson was projecting?
I don't have that.
Well, you mean Selden?
Selden Ridge, yeah, but Thompson brought him into his,
Okay,
yeah.
versus Selden Ridge, we are lower than Selden Ridge. He
Right.
was higher
right.
all along. Depends on which rate you look at. Generally,
Well, the total right now, as of January, was 3429, right?
Yeah, 33.
yeah, 33.90.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking the wrong year, 3390, yeah.
I was going back to put it in December and January.
Can I ask a silly
How-
question? Yeah,
How did we
where
grow
did
these
seven?
kids? And then I realized it was 16, not 17.
But where did 17 kids come from?
Since last one.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's.
Were they ones that we had outplaced and came back? Did we have like some River Rock that came back,
No, we
or?
didn't.
I'm not really asking the specific details, Jim. It just seems odd to me that our enrollment would have increased 17
I agree.
in the middle of the year, particularly when I understand that people move all the time, but the more people move in the summer than in the winter. It's not optimal moving time.
Do they get counted if they're outplaced, or if they're
No, they're still ours.
still ours? Even if,
We
yeah.
had, I think, 9 kids moving in one day.
Wow.
We had a bunch of AEC and MEC.
And you've got 5 in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 3 moving on my street.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But it seems odd, right? There'll be months where we don't have any, right, or we lose some, and then it's just as odd.
But you know, my suspicion was always that we're lower than what Selden Ridge predicted, but that downward spiral, I saw plateauing at some point earlier than what his projections
Well,
were.
if you look at housing, strictly housing, people move out, kids move in. I always say, in my house that I have, 3 moved out, 2 came in. So we're always staying within that line. What happened in the housing that I know where I have 3 houses sold, and a bunch of young ones who weren't in the school left, and age like 4th and 6th moved in. So,
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, we're still, what was the number you were projecting? 5? No. What was the number for elementary reduction?
No, he said 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
That's what, in
Staff-
terms,
staff
yeah,
reduction.
staffing, you said 2 to
yeah,
3.
2 to 3.
2 to 3, okay.
That's just due to realignment, not because of, well, because of enrollment, but as Birdsboro is moving under,
Right.
ACES and Petoskey put it together, it flattens out, the classes flatten
Has administration come with their, I mean, I know there was talk at the high school. He had wants desires. Have you hashed that out yet with your administrative team?
Staffing,
Yes,
teacher-wise or administrative?
teacher.
Teacher-wise, we were looking at, well, one, we haven't gotten any notices of retirement yet. What I'm told is, the union, that they're waiting to see if there's an incentive once again this year.
And we've already had this discussion, and I think you'll find that, in my opinion, I think the majority of the board will say no.
Right, I understand
I look
that.
at your incentive is not made up for work.
Well, that's what we're told, that they're waiting on any,
So I would suggest telling them that they're probably not going to say anything, so
Well,
they,
can we as a board just make that statement at the next meeting?
we could, sure.
That we're not offering incentive?
When's the last time we did? I mean, I've only been on the
2000
board.
and, was that 11?
Were you on the board when?
No, it was that,
It was before, so
it was that addendum that they've been putting in the contract. That addendum,
We did the last year I was on the first time, which I think was 2011.
yeah, I think that
And we looked at what we had like 8 that were, I think we had 8 or 10 that went. And we kind of looked at that and waited, you know what I mean?
Right.
So-
My only point is this. If we haven't done it for 6
Right.
years in a row, it seems strange to be saying, well, let's wait and see what they do. Odds are pretty good that we're not going to do it if we haven't done it for the last 5 years.
I mean, and to speak bluntly, I mean, obviously, with the new contract, if you've been someone who's been waiting, you're not going to see much of, you're not going to see anything. So
No.
if you've been yeah, you would go.
$500 for 2 years.
Exactly.
So,
So you're at the end.
yeah, you're not going to get anything more by staying.
No.
All that we would ask administrative-wise would be, and staffing-wise, where needed, can we keep what we have? If it's reallocated? Because there's various departments, and I'll say one, special ed is in trouble. There's not enough support in special ed, we're missing things, we're not compliant in a number of areas.
But when you say support, are you talking teachers or support staff?
I'm talking administrative and teachers. We're going to have a few retirements. And depending on where the certifications line up, if someone's going to be pushed out of a second grade class, they can go into a fifth grade if needed. What we would like is, can we remain flat on the employee level if a position is there? Meaning, assistant principal.
All right.
I would like to move Ted into special ed, supporting Michelle. Our special ed numbers are climbing about 2-3% each year, while our population is dropping. We found over the last few weeks, and as a session, we've paid out tens of thousands of dollars because things are being missed in that department because we have one person running, and now we have a secretary who's been able to just hire. We're finding that one person can't run that entire department. That person can't be at all the IEP meetings. Can't be.
Well, but that one person has been running it for how many years now? So why is it new?
Didn't we have that Andrea Eckenrode or something?
Yes.
Didn't she?
They
had a second.
when Hannah started, my wife works for Shelley. When Hannah started in the district, Shelley and someone else split the responsibility.
Right.
I thought we
One
had
was a guy.
Andrea.
One person did the high school, and one person did like K through 8. Shelley did K through 8, and the gentleman did the high school.
It was. You're right. It was Andrea.
I don't
At least
remember
when Hannah started, it was Andrea, and then
It might have been years ago.
she left and went to.
But I think Andrea left during Mary Beth's tenure, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Huh?
Yeah, Dinsmore. Yeah.
Dinsmore?
Yeah.
I thought it was Eckenrode.
She got married and.
Oh, all right, well.
It's the same person.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, when I started 3 years ago, she was kind of in Rob's position.
right.
She was
okay.
over here, and then she went to another district
Right,
that
that's
fall.
what I'm talking
Great Valley, I
Another
think.
person, they split.
Right, that's what I mean. But, and we did kind of, and I'd have to go back and read minutes and look and listen, but we sort of talked about, did we need an acquisition? And
Well, the other thing that's happened is that the more experienced special ed people have retired. So the staff that Shelley has is less experienced than the staff was at that time. So she's now, like Jim said, they've got increasing caseload with less experienced people and with that co-managerial or oversight role gone. So I mean, it's very clear to me because I live it. I mean, I don't live it during the day, but trust me when I tell you that I live it at night, that things are falling through the cracks and that
Right, I mean,
it's somewhat
my
overwhelming.
wife spent the weekend with Shelley,
Yeah,
catching up on paperwork. Shelley's on a 7-day-a-week schedule,
yeah,
where IEPs and things, and we saw during our meetings that things aren't being followed up because one person can't be at every meeting, and they're working 7 days a week.
And but how much of that should fall on the principals or shouldn't?
Well, and that's the special ed department, principal manages the building. It's not-
I mean, I've always thought we were pretty lean in administration. With,
I think we
uh,
are.
yeah.
Some people would disagree with that.
Some people disagree.
Having seen other districts and type of administration.
I mean, some districts have PR people and HR people, and we don't have that.
I would totally agree with you too.
So, I mean, my question would be, if you had your druthers and you could put somebody else in administration, where would they be? I mean, I would say we have multiple needs. I do think we lack kind of an HR director. We kind of talked a little bit about supporting our elementary schools now that they're going to be closer to maximum population if we move on with BEC. So there's.
I can tell you, on the order of need, it would be special ed, chief academic officer, and support for elementary. Special ed, we need to be in compliance. That's legal.
Right. It gets.
So you're not going
It's silly if you spend more money being out of compliance than you would to pay somebody just to make sure that you're in compliance. Right? I mean,
So we're not going to hire. There's no way that our board would agree to hire, and I wouldn't say hire 3 people, but if you could come back and say maybe this person would help special ed, but also help out in the elementary level with building needs.
I can tell you right now, the person who ever goes to special ed will be entirely involved in special ed. That's the only area that ever grown. I charted it and I sent it over to Shelley because she didn't know I was doing it. I tracked our enrollment numbers for the last 3 or 4 years and our special ed tools for the last 3 or 4 years.
Which says something to our population is going down, but our special ed's going up.
Yes,
I
yes.
think that's happening in a lot of places because there's a lot of, like when I was.
A lot more parents are now.
it's not. It's media. It's that people know that the programs are out there.
And I hate to say it, there was a lot of things, like when I was a kid, you just got slapped and told to sit there and behave, and now they have the behavioral,
Yeah.
and they get an IEP, and they get, so, we just got smacked.
So are you suggesting we smack again, or what? What's your?
Yeah,
Should I delete that from the?
no, I think a lot of problems that happen in school stop when people stop disciplining their kids, both in school and out of school, so.
All I'm saying is administratively, we have bodies available here that can be shifted to assist Shelley and special ed, where it can be split and managed, where people want to come in on weekends just to file and do paperwork, because there's a lot of compliance that has to happen. And you saw what happened when things got missed around and not followed.
Right. I think bottom line though is I unfortunately I still think we need to see some savings overall on payroll. So if that's and I look at payroll as administrative and teachers and support the whole everything together. So
Honestly, we're lean now administratively, where if we cut administrative now,
I wasn't suggesting that.
or it was in the next year, we don't have enough support here now. Like I said, we have people who work 6-7 days a week just to try to keep up, pull other people in.
So,
Not
so,
asking for an HR person.
so what I'm saying is, if we're able to consolidate a couple teachers, but, you know, I heard rumblings that the high school was looking for some extra math
Well, they're always looking for extra people.
teacher.
I mean, the high school is so lean, we can't put in the Mandarin Chinese lounge. There's no one freed up for that period. Okay? And that's a $5,000 program that the foundation will pay for. And we can't free up someone.
Right, staff-wise, you just can't
Staff-wise
do it.
for a period. That's how lean it's working. So, yes, we need people. However, we can manage. But we can't add a free language program because we don't have anyone freed up for that period. That's where we are. We are competing with Rite Aid for aides. We had an aide quit today because it's a part-time position, no benefits, and they can go work at Wawa. There's a people at Wawa since I've been here have stayed longer than our aides. So what's to say that there's more stability at Wawa than at school district? It's tough.
I'm going to throw out a question, and I don't want to know, it's not quite finance. I don't know what kind of committee question it is, but over the years that I've been on board, we cut aids, hours, benefits, all
Sure,
that,
yeah.
because we're trying to save money, and that's the only place we can cut. I mean, contractually, that's really the only place we can cut. If we looked at potentially, I believe you can outsource aides as paraprofessionals.
It's part of the contract.
I understand that, but in the future, I mean, is that something where maybe you could, instead of working 3 hours a day, because we don't want full-time, we don't want insurances, we don't want pensions, that if we
Well,
outsource
our part-timers really have, the new contract, they're not eligible for,
Right, but that's why people, I think, are leaving, because we are keeping hours down to part-timers, and we're keeping, whereas if it was an outside agency that had people working full-time, but the.
well, so we do have that,
Benefit
we
clauses.
do have that agency now that is subbing, supposed to sub our aides, right?
Right, there are subservice, but they can't be in place of a teacher or.
Right. But, so, yeah, it's a valid question, but
You just keep going.
my thought, I would push back and say, I think we're so far, we're successful, and I think we will be successful on the custodial side, but we've had a lot of issues with the maintenance side.
Right.
And I would classify the aides into the maintenance category of, will we get what we want if we outsource that?
But I'm not, it sounds like the aides that we want, we're in danger of losing anyway because they can go somewhere else and make more money. So I think it's lose-lose, Dave. I don't think it's as simple as,
What would happen is the current aides would go work for Precision HR, and we would just hire them. That's what we did, and we have agreements because of that. So we have agreements because one of our former employees retired, went to work for Precision HR. We did just what you said. We put them in a class, assigned them to a teacher, and there's a day-to-day aide. But we have agreements because it's a displacement of work, and we did that because we need more bodies. It's only to be consistent. One of the aides who resigned is one of the ones that we hired for the overflow of ABC. So we have to post that job we need.
So,
Why would they why would they resign from us and go to?
Because then they could work full-time.
Because they can work for other, right, so that's what I'm saying, if we could get, if we went to an outsourced paraprofessional, we may be able to get and retain people that we want, as opposed to not, because they could work full-time and get those benefits and the hours from somebody else, if not from us, they can go somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where I was going.
Okay.
I don't want to, I'm not doing it because I want to outsource. I'm saying, how can we meet the needs that we have?
right.
yeah.
And also meet the employees' needs. Because you're right, who wants to work 3 hours a day with no benefits if you can go work?
Law. Really, that's what's happening. I mean, we're losing people. We've lost people writing. Instead of coming here, they're going to write. But we could hire them if we decided to go that route.
Or do we hire more full-time aides?
But that increases
Oh, yeah, it does,
costs,
yeah.
so-
We can only reduce so much. And after that, that's the minimum we can get down to. And right now, I can tell you that, I'm here 6 days a week, Rob is here 6 days a week, Shelley's 7 days a week. We're here all the time. And there are things that get missed, we're not taken care of, just because we just don't have the hours in the day. When we're tasked with looking up something or trying to investigate something or working on something, everything else gets put aside. I mean, yesterday I was on a school bus, dealing with a middle school problem. So there's only so much personnel. We can only get down in depth into so many things.
I mean, again, I'll go back. I mean, my suggestion is I think you'd get pushback. I think you get less pushback if you were to say, we want to, move Ted, have him help out with Shelley, but he'd also be doing this as well, instead of full-time. You know what I'm saying?
What I'm
Keep
saying-
in mind that he's speculating because he's only in one board member's head.
Correct.
Right, but what I'm saying is, the work that... needs to be done
Probably more than one.
The work that needs to be done in special
Only one.
ed would be full-time. It's a full-time job managing the high school or the K through 8 IEPs. There's over, I think, when I ran my number, close to 700. It's going up about 2-3% every year. And that's a lot. So, split it, 350 to 350.
40% probably.
It's 23%. I just saw
We're
it.
close to about 20% of our
You
population
just probably...
being in special ed.
I just saw it.
No, you probably just did it real quick.
Oh no, I did not calculate it. No, I just saw
That's
it.
more than the population at MEC. So,
Yeah.
that's more than MEC. It's close to what AEC has.
Well,
Well, then come back with all the numbers.
do you,
Yeah.
and maybe this is a whole nother topic, but do you think that ECU is interested in that?
It is.
Because I know you said you know not exactly.
Now, I'm going to assign her temporarily to help out. She's in the building with Shelley, and she is bogged down. She's behind. There are things that we have to file on sometimes. That's why his wife was there. That's why his wife was there over the weekend, was assisting with everything. And I'm sure his wife can testify, it's a mess because there's so much that has to go on. Now, it helps that we have the access coordinator there now. So that filing that really wasn't done before, is now being done. So the reimbursement of about $500,000, but we also missed out on transportation money, correct? We missed out on transportation reimbursement money because somehow something wasn't done correctly. And that was, what, 20, 30,000?
Something like that, Medicaid and all that stuff wasn't filed and all this stuff that's going on over there.
Oh, and by just as a side note, Dane really should not be allowed to have any input here, because he's under duress at home, so I think that's...
It's always at work.
He's happy to do it.
It's always at work. So in reality though, our special ed population is almost equal, probably more than what the MEC population is. So that's the magnitude we're looking at. There are things that aren't being followed. The first down to access coordinator, very helpful. She's following on board doing what she was here to do. And that was $500,000 that was out there that we don't get.
Well, yeah,
700 kids, I mean, you're almost at the empty population.
And that's what we're looking at.
but, to me,
number's going up.
that's all things that need to be documented. The fact that we lost money here, we got, so, dollars and cents, so that, we can make a good decision then, right? All right? Of course, that kind of got off the track of enrollment, but, so there's still 2 to 3 teachers, though, as far as, and, but now, are we tying that into anything with the middle school and high school, or no?
No.
As far as any additional
That's different.
needs that they might want? No, it's not different.
Well, for me, it's for elementary K through 8, I'm sorry, K through 5, it's different than the middle school and high school, because their class sizes can vary.
Well, what I'm saying is, as far as, I know the middle school and high school have been asking for extra, so have we taken that into account at all? And then we've also been having a discussion about perhaps potentially trying to bring back some kind of languages at middle school level too. So has that all been factored in or not?
Well, right now, all I can go with is what we're forecasting enrollment to be in the elementary and what's going up to the middle school and high school. There are things that we would like, depending on what enrollment looks like, depending on what the retirees look like. If no one's going to retire, which we think is probably not the case, and we would like to replace at the middle school level an advanced ELA course was put in place, and the language was pulled out. If we were going to put in a language course, so why not take out what was already put in, replace it? We're not looking to add staff, we're looking at using the same number of people and allocate it in a different way.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking for, is we could take the same number of people, just reassign them to be more efficient for us. So we had a language program at the middle school years prior, that was pulled out. Instead, this higher reading class was put in. We could take out the higher reading class, but they're the ones who are going to take the language anyway, but it's world language.
Which that still doesn't make sense because when you guys pulled languages, it was to save money, right, Tamara?
Yeah,
So I don't understand how that it has to save money in some way, right?
yeah,
Put in a language course.
You see, that doesn't make sense.
no. No, well, I think the issue, I mean, when we cut language in the middle school,
Yeah.
it was because, well, we based, and maybe it was the wrong way to look at it, but what we were looking at was, they said, oh, well, we will have 5 fifth-year languages, right? So there was like 60 kids total that were taking a fifth-year language, so it's like, okay, well, we're sorry you can't have a fifth-year language, but for 60 kids, you know, but you're right, if you take the language out of the middle school, the kids still need something for that period. Although I think we may have made multiple periods longer.
I thought I remembered, I was at a couple of meetings, but I could have sworn I remembered it was something more of a self-directed class, but maybe I'm not, it was a kind of, like there was a kind of reading involved, I don't know.
Not so long of it.
Right, the argument in favor of reestablishing language programs in the middle school doesn't have anything to do with the fifth. It's not, the goal is not to try and get the kids a fifth year. The goal is to give the kids exposure to language, to have an introductory language course so the kids get exposed to it and can decide whether they like it or they don't.
I thought they did
You know what I mean?
something with like a multi-cultural.
Right, and that's what this class.
It's like when they pulled the languages, the whole behind it was they were saving money somehow.
Okay.
But now
Yeah.
but now Jim's saying, well, we can reshuffle it and that won't cost us more. So
I'm not, at this point, the reasons why the stuff was done is entirely relevant to me. Like, what I know is that based on discussions in CNI, right, the desire to have the middle school, the language back in the middle school was they want an introductory course that's both cultural and gets into the language basics to get the kids exposed to it, so the ones who like it know, hey, this is where I want to go, and the ones who don't know, I want to do something else.
And I do. I think the reason it saved money was because we could eliminate a teacher because we eliminated
Right.
so many class periods. That, and I think we may have just made some of the other periods longer. I don't remember exactly how
Okay.
it was done, but.
when's the drop dead date to notify users that you are retiring? As far as the teachers, like when do they have to? There's a date they have to notify, right? Us that they're.
Contractual thing for the schools. You have to do certain things within a year before you officially retire, as far as in order to make your
Yeah, in order to start collecting your pension, this
month after you leave. But they say within a year is a mandatory meeting.
So the next item actually would, to me, ties in a little bit with the conversation we just had, with Ted is, BEC closure, right?
Just to give you an overview, Kathleen updated what I placed in front of you there with the actual cost.
Is that the building analysis you sent out?
Right.
Is that the February expenses by building analysis?
February 2nd, 2017.
I have it on my computer so I can actually see it.
That's right. Well,
Do you have that?
I just,
Yeah.
is that what I sent you today?
Yeah. Was it? Yeah. Today or yesterday? I think it was
Today,
today. Today.
One day runs into the next. May have been last night, late when I sent it over.
So because you have yeah. So okay. So BEC you have the first column there. Okay.
Right.
All right. And so, I mean, you know, my question was, I mean, when we closed this building, you know, the initial number that was thrown out, I always thought was high as to what they were going to save. So I kind of want to drill down and find out actually how much money we're going to save as far as BEC is concerned. You know, that building does get shut down.
The initial savings from closing BEC always happened through operation, because we weren't losing the students, we were losing the
Right.
needs of the building. So
Yeah.
when
Yeah. You might save a teacher or two, but most of the teachers are going elsewhere.
Right, and then you fall into the custodial maintenance side, cafeteria work, grounds. We outsource that to GCA. So we don't have the custodial dollars anymore, so we got that savings earlier. We don't have food service, that was saved earlier. And then the next part we get to would be supporting the building, the aides who select the kids, teachers who select the kids. We would come down to secretarial staff, guidance. That's it. So we're looking at, I think one of the secretaries may be retiring, they're coming offline. And then the guidance, library, I know that that's already shared between buildings. So we really come out ahead on the reading and math support. We're now not going between 2 or 3 buildings, we're going to be assigned to a specific building. But then administratively it would be Ted. That was it. He was the assistant principal in the building.
But now we're talking about keeping Ted.
Yes. But once again, the savings, and then we come down with some of the maintenance dollars. A ceiling tile fell out today because it was wet from a pipe. Hit a kid in the head. Yep. So that work, the building needs some work. So we can slowly phase that in with a 5-year maintenance plan, but in the end, we still have the kids.
Right, and to be fair, the administration's proposal to realign was not based on cost savings. So, yeah, there was a modest cost savings projected, but the goal of the realignment was not to save money.
Right, but there's been, you know, I mean, let's be frank, the initial drive a few years back about closing buildings was to save money.
Well, I can't comment intelligently on that because I wasn't on the board at that
No,
time.
I mean,
so- Once again-
we've always been said we're real estate rich and,
Well, even, I mean, I was on board when they closed ABC, but I read the newspaper articles where we were gonna save 650,000, and then the numbers came out, it was like 200. You know, so, I mean, I think it's almost like
so as far as,
they
you know,
anticipated within the.
but as far as this committee's concerned, right, we need to figure out for our budget, are we saving money and how much?
Right, but I think Jim is saying, quite frankly, that it's going to have a non-material budget impact.
As long, well, it does. I mean, it's about 3 staff members, because, and teachers. They were looking at least 2 secretaries. We need the nurse, question. We thought the nurse would be gone, but it turns out we need to use the nurse for the other building that we support. We would have to hire an additional nurse that we don't have to hire.
Well, so what about guidance? I mean, are there enough at AEC and MEC to the additional population coming over to handle that?
Well, over 300, I mean, each guidance counselor can handle about 300 kids. So we're right at the top. If not, I mean, AZ's at 690, 700. And we think 2 guidance counselors can handle that. So I don't know how many are at AZ. I think there's 2 now at AZ. Then a guidance counselor would come down if that was the case. The thing is, when I got here, I was only want to say $1 million that goes to BEC. We still have the kids. If we took BEC and the kids and said, give it to someone else, that's the saving. But we still have the kids. So with the kids, we still have the support of the students, we still have to educate them, so we still have the teachers, we still have guidance counselors.
The only real savings, I think, that comes from BEC is if we lease it and it becomes a revenue source, and now it's not savings, it's a revenue source. But I think looking at the realignment plan and its impact on BEC, it's a cost savings opportunity is just a flawed view. If we want to look at BEC as a potential revenue source, that's different, because obviously in the long term that's true. But in the short term, I think looking at it as savings is
The
short
cost
sighted.
savings now, the situation that we're in with the outsourcing of all our support staff, is about $250,000 to $300,000. That's what the teachers come from, and possibly some secretarial support.
Okay.
That's it. Before GCA came on board, it was about 400 because we had all the employees that were not going to be to clean that building. And we wouldn't have to hire 4 more custodians to clean AEC because we put more kids in. Their duties are assigned by square footage. That wasn't
Right.
changing.
But on the flip side, I mean, would there be a small savings realized on the GCA contract? Because when we contracted with them, they're cleaning the extra building. So I would think
Well, but
they wouldn't need as
would they
many
still be
man-hours.
cleaning I mean, if we're going to lease, they might still be cleaning the building, right? I mean,
But
if we're
that
gonna,
lease charge, that charge will be charged back to whoever's leasing the building.
well, or part of it. I mean,
Right. So you're right. I think they probably have 3 custodians in that building now. I would put more than that, 1 in the day, 2 at night. I would reassign them to another building here, probably the high school, where there's needs. So for them, I don't think their staffing model would change too much.
But on the other, their staffing model might not change, but I still wonder if we would, well, we might not see savings realized because they're not fully staffed.
Right.
So they would just turn into they're fully staffed.
Right.
They would call, mine with them, I would put them in the high school.
But we would see savings from the original realized, or the original cost proposal, because we're not paying that right now.
So what
It happens
about,
every month, because
Right.
if
They need
they
enough
pull the
hours.
building out of the mix and laid off 2 custodians, their hours are going to drop, and that's what I
Is that your screen cleaner?
calculate their payment on every month.
your screen cleaner?
Yeah.
So, but let's also be, let's be, honest. I mean, we close BEC, what's going there? I mean, if nothing's going there, we do have some maintenance numbers on that building that we need to do,
Yes.
but we should probably hold off on if nothing's going in that building, and just at least keep it stable, but not sink. I mean, we had talked about moving administration over there, but, from what I saw from what Casey put out, if I got to put a whole new HVAC system in on one floor because you got that old system in there, I don't know if it's worth it to move administration over there.
No, and we would go to the high school. I'm already looking at putting the IU pre-K counts program into Monocacy. We're meeting with them, renting space out to them. They would need 3 rooms. There's the pre-K program, which no one thinks is going to grow more than 15 kids. We have an at-risk program for kindergarten that they're interested in doing, and we're space out for, and also the AM and PM program that they already have. That's
It's the 1 kid and 2 kids.
5 overall.
Yeah, 5?
But sporadic. So that's 3 rooms. We have 4 rooms available in the back wing of NBC. So the program would fit there. With once the second grade is pulled out of AAC, there's going to have the floor plan. There's room for that.
We're going to see in next Monday, right?
Yeah.
Next Monday? Next Monday? Next Monday. 2? No.
Yeah.
2. Monday week.
The 13th.
Floor plan's already done. Walked the building the other day with Casey.
Okay.
So, on that. But the large savings just isn't there because once again, we still have the kids. And we have to educate the kids.
But we could technically put, if we were, I mean, I don't know, what was facilities thinking of putting some money over there as far as upkeep?
First floor?
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to, I
Get
don't
the
know, we haven't
structural
gotten
issue.
that far, but,
You got the structural issue that has to be
Right.
addressed.
Okay.
There's structural issues, there's HVAC issues, there's plumbing issues. There's things that have to be done in that building to keep it up to speed. It has to get on, just so it doesn't deteriorate.
right.
So, I mean, we could, I mean, until that building gets either reopened or leased, you could defer the HVAC, the plumbing, but the structural issue obviously would be something that we need to be taken care of, because we don't want that progressing any farther than it is now. Yeah, okay.
Tough to lease a building that has obvious structural deficiencies too.
Okay. All right. Which, speaking of leases, so you also sent out the River Rock lease.
Yes. What I prepared for you was a summary of the activity with the River Rock lease since September of 14, when they officially moved into this building.
So, yeah, walk us through this,
Okay, total enrolled, keep it, the lease is based upon up in the, I don't know if it's on yours, Dave, you might want to look at my new copy. Is based on total enrollment. First 29 students, you get 3 free seats for every 8 total enrolled. After that, you get 1 additional seat. So
okay.
your second column there is the total enrolled in any given month. Next column is what we received in free seats. The next column is the days, instructional days in the month. The next column is the total billable days based on our own enrollment, our own teachers. $125 is your daily rate. What this sheet is a proof sheet that I developed to make sure that the invoicing was accurate. So you go all the way to the far right, and you see the total that we received as a reduction in the invoice for our free seats. So you move down to, under the column that's labeled rent, the first figure you see is $129,750. That's what we received in credits the first year of the lease.
So that works out to the $461 a square foot, is that what you
Yeah,
kind of?
the lease is driven out by 28,144 square foot of leased area. That's what's contained within the lease document. So you have $461 a square foot the first year. Second year ending last June, we received $141,500 in credits, which figures out to $5.03.
So the number of free placements we have, how many
Yes.
kids do we actually have placed right now here?
How many do we have? That varies by the month. You might have 11, let's say, out of the 51 that were there at the end of, during the month of December. Let's say maybe 11 of the 51 are boons, but we get 6 free seats.
Do we ever drop below that free number?
We never did.
And if you do, then we don't get that money, right? That's just, okay.
Right.
But we've never dropped below that.
It's never happened.
Okay.
Well, and then we also would realize some transportation savings that we may not necessarily be calculatable, but they weren't going here.
I'm sure that was part of the argument when you
They were going
brought them
somewhere
here
else,
from
yeah.
wherever it was, up in
Wilson, I think, or somewhere.
Sinking Spring or someplace. It was the first invoice that I saw was for the end of the 13-14 year. They weren't here. They were someplace else. But
So I guess the question that comes up is, well, what would we rent this place per square foot, right? If we actually had a dollar value lease.
right. And I don't know what the market value is for this area. They approached us about additional space, and they preferred to have a straight-out lease as opposed to an exchange.
So how much more space are they looking for?
They didn't really say.
They wanted, I think, this floor here and not the upstairs. But I would,
So, I mean, everything on this floor.
I would say if you listen, they get the whole building. If they go upstairs, they, I mean, what was, the kitchen isn't part of the current lease, but they use it.
What's that?
Kitchen isn't part of the
No.
current lease.
Well, if you look at the hard copy that I gave you, Dave, you see this. You flip down through that, you'll see, first is
The map here?
this is an email back in May of 15. I had some questions to Brian, and he explained what's contained within the lease. We flip to the third page, you see the shaded areas are what makes up this $28,000 or 28,000
right.
square foot number.
Yeah.
But they also, if you read his email, they say it's only accessible to them from 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. Therefore, the question arose, we were using the library early on for executive sessions, and they were saying, hey, that's our territory. We said, not so fast.
Well, the cafeteria is shaded in too, but after hours, it's ours.
Right. And we were able to lease the gym to other venues,
Right.
other
And we pay the full freight and all utilities here, right?
no,
No?
no. If you go down through the lease, it's 40-some% of the,
So are we billing them
yes,
40% of the building utilities?
correct. And Kathleen verified last week that we are current with our billings.
Yes, we are.
So about how much money is that?
Well, if the total utility cost, what's shown on our breakout here,
AEC is APC is 35,785. So 40% is.
Yeah, 36,000. So, I mean, it's not 16 grand. I mean, it's not.
I think the board would be amenable to renting out the place and having a true lease. I don't think anybody would oppose that. The question is what do
No,
we
most
charge
people
them,
would
right?
prefer that probably.
Yeah. So the question is what do we charge them, right?
right?
And I'll be honest, when for any of you who were here, other than Dave, I mean, we had a revenue enhancement committee. I did bring in and I forget this, I'm sure I have this stuff in my notes, but we did bring in a commercial realtor broker to talk about renting and or selling, and basically said it's really hard because you don't have an elevator. You don't have, what use are you going to rent it for? And he had the Kiwi, was the old Kiwi building, I don't know.
I think it's still empty, isn't it?
And he had that for lease for years, and he said the only people that walked through it was us for administrative offices. So he said it's not a high market rental for the uses that we could. And then he brings up the issues too of with the township, which we came across, would we have to do something with that road?
Yep.
The driveway, make it into a road, so if we rented, leased it or
We definitely have to rent at a discount comparable to other.
Right, so I mean, the fact that we're getting I don't know what the going rate is for commercial leases, but
I'm thinking, does
I-
$10 a square foot
I'm
sound
thinking
about?
that- I think-
Honestly, the vaguest idea.
Between about 15 and 17.
Well, this is definitely not Class A.
I would think that we may be getting a decent
Return on the.
return, and if you trade, I don't know,
I think you're getting it.
If we turned all the utilities over to them, we're not here anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean that is what the deal would be, right? If the whole building went to them, we wouldn't use it as a meeting place anymore, right? We wouldn't lease the gym out, right? Like the whole,
Total square footage would be in the neighborhood of 70,000, 75,000.
But they're not gonna be able to use the third floor either, right? I mean, they could use it, but they can't
They are.
technically use, okay.
They're using it for testing. They're going up there and using it.
Okay.
So I don't think that's an issue for them.
Okay.
It wouldn't appear that it is.
I guess the question is, can you get them to
right.
pay, I mean, will they be willing to pay for on 70,000 square feet or whatever?
Well, once again, do it, if we, it sounds like it would be a headache to find another tenant, or another leasee, right? So if there's some square footage cost break for the more square footage they get, I'm fine with that, right? If you're willing to go to the full 70,000 and then we go to $4 per square foot, I'm fine with that. We still win. I mean, we still end up with substantially more revenue, right? So
Who else do they lease from? River Rock.
Well, he told us they
There's a number of places, and he said that this is the only situation for space.
So is there anybody to contact to find out what they're,
What they're paying?
But, you know, we can find out, but they're gonna offer us a proposal, and we know, if we can figure out the average rate, and we only have so many, one option to go to.
Yeah, but-
Even with North Road Building, there's not people lining up to get in it,
Right.
and even here, not that many groups out there, unless we're gonna put a charter school in. Not that many groups.
works for me, let's close down. All right, cool.
And we don't have the students.
So that's what they're, so they're.
So I'm saying we'll close down.
They're trying to give us a proposal? So-
Well,
then I guess we wait
they
and see.
wanted us to tell them how much do you want per square foot for the entire building.
Oh.
And then I'm sure they're going to come back and say, well, maybe we don't want those.
So I said, why don't we touch base with another district that they see what they're,
Because I would think if you asked me, I'd want the whatever we're making right now, which is 5 something.
so that would,
City's offered the 9, and see what they.
so that'd be what, like 350,000 a year?
Right. Yeah,
I mean, you can already be out the door, but I would want at least that.
these
okay?
drawings from 1971 indicate that they're not really good measured drawings. My numbers are probably more accurate because I just simply walked the building and counted ceiling tiles. But they're room by room. But
Is that when you're aboard one day?
Pardon?
Is that when you're
That was
aboard one day?
Late one night. With my
He couldn't
flash,
sleep, he was counting tiles.
with my flashlight. But it said the existing building was 42,000 square feet. Now keep in mind, at that point, they had a music room downstairs. And
Downstairs? Really?
And the health office was downstairs. Anyway,
I think that'd be like a dungeon
it
for
was
a
42,000
horror movie.
existing, and the new building, when it was drawn up, was 29,174, which would be about 71,000. So if it were 70,000 and you threw
What grades are they serving here now?
three,
Oh, right.
they've got the lower grades here now.
Really? So because I had asked about this equipment out here we have on the playground, so I guess that's staying here now since they are.
Can't be.
Yeah, good.
That you destroy that and get it out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because it's usable. We've got all the, down in the boiler room where all the swings and everything come off of.
Yeah, we'll throw in the playground for them.
Actually, do we know, what will we say?
Well, the kids go on.
Per square foot.
They'd have to pull the lease up.
But that might give you an idea of what office,
Yeah, the one problem with talking to another school is that real estate, the square foot, cost per square foot of real estate is very dependent on where you are.
Right.
I mean, it's really very dependent on where you are. So if it's another building in a different county,
Right.
it's pretty hard to say, you know, it's not apples to apples, that's all.
I mean, I'd still be interested to know what they did and what they pay somebody to run the other schools, but I think it might be more,
Also,
it would give you another comparable to.
you might get might be able to get an answer or some information from the IU as well. They might, because they certainly lease a lot of space around the county at different schools.
You could ask the local realtors, I mean, I know the local street.
Yeah, but yeah, it's such an odd for them, you know, that it's such an odd market. The IU might be better.
Well, that's funny, is the IU holds some program at one of these TC campuses that they are looking to get them out because they need the space. And I was like, oh, well, we have, someone available, and they're like, oh, well, they don't actually pay for it. I was like, oh, well, we want people that are.
Well, yeah, that's a discussion we had because we're not charging
Right.
currently now,
Yeah.
and we probably should be charging, right? Right? Yes.
What are we not charging for?
We don't charge the IU for the room they use now for the pre-K or the kindergarten, enhanced
Well,
kindergarten.
we are tracking from that though. We're tracking, are we going to get an uptick in our kindergarten enrollment? We have them already in preschool. If we average every year about 180 students going into kindergarten, we're now going to get 190 or 200 because of that pre-K being part of us, then it's worth it not charging them because we're getting more students in right now. So, and they're not going to go to a local school or a private school for their.
Tamara would argue that's
I
better.
would really like to go. Sorry.
That's good for you.
Thank you. You know me well.
Financially, I'm not sure what the benefit is of having those classes be bigger.
I mean, I know people want to grow our enrollment, but I look at the more kids we have, and we don't get the tax revenue per household that we spend on students. I mean, let's face it, if somebody has 3 kids, we're certainly not getting what we're spending. So I never understood that we want to create more
Well,
houses and more kids.
Well, at a certain point, we could bring in 10 more kids, and it won't cost us anything. And we can do that because we don't have to staff per child.
Yes,
per block of kids.
You're saying from the state per kid.
Right, so.
Yeah, and if it doesn't cause any staff increases, then
Right.
it is just additional revenue. But there's no way to know, I mean,
To know that. right.
it'd be hard to be on top of that day to day to know whether the next 10 kids puts you over the, causes a teacher increase or not. That's all. It just.
Well, we are asking when they enroll in kindergarten, were you part of this IU pre-K program? So we can see if they're staying with us or they're going someplace else.
Right.
And generally, we know what our average enrollment is. And also, are those students going into the full day program or the half day program, which I didn't say was at risk. So we can lower our at-risk number
Right.
because they're in a preschool program that we're working with, and then they transition into kindergarten. And they're not going to the at-risk program because these are the kids who may not have been in a program. And the first time they're in school, they're coming into our full
Does the
day
IU
program.
charge for their program pre-K, or is it,
There's no charge to Berkeley.
Yeah, as long as you meet
the
the.
ones I was thinking, there are kids that qualify either for special needs or income or
We're not
something like that, right?
charging
So-
them rent. Are we paying anything for the service? Okay, so.
No, because the state funds that.
Okay, but even so, like I'm not, it is a service to people who live in this,
Area.
this geographic area, and we're not paying for it. So I don't feel like we should be profiting from it either. Like,
But there are other districts that do charge.
And if they were making, not that they profit, but if they were charging for the program,
Right.
then I could see maybe, but if it's, they're providing it because of.
right, they're
needs.
staffing it at no cost to us, right? So why would we?
And we don't even touch anything with that unless it's just cleaning the room. We don't do anything with that.
Right.
We meet the kids at the door, they walk the kids in, we don't do anything. That's why at NBC, they're going to be in the back area with their own entrance. Parents drop them off.
Right.
Our principal doesn't deal with them, but it does help that our teachers can see, okay, this is what we're teaching in kindergarten. How are they being assessed in your preschool? So when they come to us, they're not behind the other students because we do do see a gap of kids who had no academic work at 3, 4, 5 years old versus those who were in a solid preschool or a home that worked with their numbers and colors and you know the basics. They can read a little bit. Some kids come in, we've had kids come in this year in kindergarten who looked like they were unlocked from a closet and just ran into the room and they were not controlled. The teachers had to hold them the whole class. So it became that bad. So we can get them socialized earlier in a preschool program that we have very little, we can go in and contribute to, hey, this is what we're doing in kindergarten, align your programming to what we need. Kids will become stronger, and we spend less time in the at-risk program with them.
I agree with that.
So to the River Rock point, I mean, technically leasing is an executive session topic, correct? So can we have a conversation either this 13th or the following board meeting so that we can, because River Rock's waiting for us to come to them, right? So maybe let's have a conversation in executive about what we want to make the offer, and
You want to wait until Brian's here?
that's fine. We can do that.
What
So
we can do is go out and find
that way, so that gives you a couple weeks to go out,
square footage costs.
do some digging, and then at
27th.
the voting meeting, we can have executive, we can have a discussion on what could propose. That way we can at least get this moving down the road and get some kind of resolution as to whether we're going to lease the whole building out or not. So, okay. Transition house, we're just what,
Well, that lease is expiring on June 30th, and we need to notify them by the end of July, or the end of March, excuse me, 3 months prior.
what do we make on that a month now?
$1,000 a month, and they pay all utilities. We were at $1,500.
We could put administration over there.
I don't even know what it is.
When you pull in, so,
The House of Brothers.
yeah, if you go up 80, not 80, it's 345 now, and make that left into the high school, that little house that sits
The
there,
rancher.
Is
that
ours.
sits- That's right next to the high school.
they had originally, all right, we'll go ancient history for you. When we remodeled the stadium, the original, correct me if I'm wrong, but the original thought was they bought that house, they were gonna knock it down, they were gonna make a gravel parking lot for extra parking over there as part of the stadium remodel. Union Township said, no, you need to put in. So that's when we put in all those extra parking spaces that are now at the high school.
Well, what happened, and we still,
Is that correct or no?
We still need that for parking, legally. I mean, by the conditions of the land development approval, there were so many parking spots needed. So they bought that house to create parking, but they didn't really want to go through the expense. So they said to the township, what they did, I believe, I don't know if we still have it, but there should be a lease agreement with the
Pool, yeah.
that we can park there, and then we used to rent school buses for home football games to shuttle people back and forth from,
Now, mind you, you don't need it. I mean, when you go there, you don't need it.
the only issue is, because everyone says, well, why don't we do this? If it was a condition of the plan approval that we have it for potential parking needs, I don't know that you can. You know what I mean? You have to,
Right, clear it
Of course,
with.
the sticking point was, we didn't increase the size of the stadium. It's just the zoning rules changed from when the stadium was originally built.
Right.
Do we need the extra parking?
now you might be able to go back, the stadium's been there 5 years now.
And we don't need- we
You
don't
might
need
be able to go back to
So,
the township.
Look, we have plenty of parking, it's not a problem.
And nicely ask if
Right.
they'd be okay with that, I think.
And they'll say, put a gate in the back.
Well, that's true. Listen, their board has since changed. Our board has since changed. That was a very,
And, acrimonious relationship?
and so, that's where that is. I don't know, could you
So
get more
what's
than?
in there?
So the transition house is, the IU runs it. It's for,
They teach kids life skills.
yeah, teach, to get them out into the working real world, kind of, yeah. So it's a good use for it.
Yeah.
Making some money off it, and so. Yeah. We increased the rent last time, right?
What we did, we had it at $1,500 a month, and they were paying part of the utilities, and then effective last July, we reduced it to $1,000 per month, and they pay all the utilities.
Okay.
I mean, I guess realistically, on the street, maybe you get $1,500 a month to rent a house, I don't know. But then you have the tenant issues.
Who would want to rent a house for next to the high school?
Nice house.
It's not bad, but then you still, you gotta be a landlord, right? So
We
you
can
might
make
have
it the
tenant issues.
superintendent's house. That would be a perk on the job.
Yeah. I mean, he'll take a house for you, or you loan a salary.
It's kind of like the priest's house. You know, the priest gets a house.
Yes, no, we always have horses.
So 60 days prior termination, 60 days notification. So that would be-
I mean, as long as I don't see a reason to terminate, and so we would renew for another year at the same terms. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know, I'm okay with it, but
That's what the board wants to do. We'll make a recommendation to the board that we do a 1-year renewal.
Seems fine.
I'll throw it on the count.
Okay. We got to redo our agreement then with the lockbox.
I'll let Kathleen jump in here. Since National Pen became
BB&T. Do they still want the business? I guess.
No, apparently not.
Ah.
I'll
Okay.
let her jump in.
They're not suited to do the lockbox. Twin Valley just got out of it as well because of the same circumstances. You can't pay multiple bills with one check. They make the customer at the counter write multiple checks.
So like for all your per capita tax and.
Oh, yeah.
They don't do the processing here. They throw it in a carrier bag and ship it to off-site or something.
Okay. All right.
So the process.
So what are our options?
Well,
I'm
go ahead.
betting towards, there's Fulton, Twin Valley took Fulton. We don't have it Fulton right in our area.
Yeah, Fulton. The only Fulton I'm aware of is down in Exeter.
The one
Right.
the Vist is in our area, and it's right there on the corner. Very, very community friendly. I'm hoping that if we can put an RFP out, they can come back. We do most of our banking with Vist anyway, so I'm hoping. We just had a lot of problems, and taxpayers aren't not really the happiest people in the world to go in and actually pay the bill,
right.
and to have that kind of abrasiveness that we've encountered. I mean, there's been.
But you can, but you still be able to mail it in too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They have the Exeter branch and the Birdsboro branch. Taxpayers have come to us with receipts that the bill was paid, and it was never paid. The bank is still looking for the checks. So it's one issue after another. The customer service wasn't a good transition. It wasn't good at all. And I
Ask
don't
a
think,
weird question on there. How do we get around not having the tax collectors collect the taxes?
That's another
That's
part
it.
of this.
back in,
I always wondered that, and
Well, when this originated back in 2005, when Bruchak was here, it was not an issue. But in 2010, the Penridge decision came into play with Commonwealth Court over in Buckstown. We're supposed to set our tax collector compensation by the 15th of February in the year of election of tax
Right.
collectors, which is this year. So 6 weeks ago, I contacted Brian. I said, Brian, we really need to address this. And he said, no, if you're not going to change it, you don't have to do it. I said, I understand that. But I said, all of this seems to have originated prior to the Penridge case in 2010. And I explained to him that I got sued in 2006 because I reduced, and they got me for arbitrary and capricious. And
right, it
quite a
has
deal.
to be a reasonable amount.
I won all the way until the tax collectors took us to Commonwealth Court, and the board buckled and settled it. So, but then Penridge came along and used my numbers. I reduced from like $3 a bill to 60 cents. And difference was that the Common Police Court in Bucks County ruled against the school district. So the school district took it to Commonwealth Court, and Commonwealth Court sided with the tax collector, said, oh yeah, this is a 40-hour week, 52-week job.
Really?
Well, that's a little crazy.
That was the absurdity of the whole thing. But point is, the Penridge case is out there.
Right.
So I went back to Brian again, and I said, are you sure we're in good standing here? How do we know that the 3 collectors that we currently have that are accepting 10 cents a bill to stay home are going to be the elected tax collectors
Right.
for the next 4 years? He's trying to give me an answer. He was going to go read the Penridge case and get back
Okay, so that's our arrangement with them. We give them 10 cents a bill to do nothing.
to stay home.
Okay.
So, at the same time, this whole lockbox deal, which is the simple part of it, that was all handled by David Comer at Fox Rothschild back in 2012 when it was last dealt with. As of this morning, this afternoon actually, I got a text or an email from Brian saying, hey, I'm doing a seminar today, I'm in the middle of this, I'll get back to you, but I haven't heard from him. So,
Okay.
Brian and David Comer are working on both issues because technically, if we do have to set a tax collector rate or whatever we need to do, we need to do it by
On
the 13th
yeah.
to satisfy the 15th deadline. So that's all
Okay.
with that.
Okay, but so to summarize, we're moving ahead with trying to find a new lockbox, and we're also need to verify that as far as if we can still go with a 10 cent to stay home. Okay.
How much do we pay for the lock? What does it cost us for
The
the?
lockbox rate,
I'm assuming that that's more reasonable than what we would pay.
It's actually cheaper to go to Viz than it is with BB&T. It's a few $100s. It's not a material dollar amount.
Michael Miller had talked to this when this began.
Yeah, and I have this-
But that's still cheaper than actually having a taxpayer do.
At like $2-3 a bill.
It's
less
the way to
than-
collect taxes. I mean, tax collector, elected tax collectors,
way-
it's archaic.
It is, and legislation needs to happen on that. But
Well, a lot of school
It's never
districts are
going-
actually looking at us as we did a great thing, so.
Hey,
It's not gonna happen. 'Cause
they got rid of inspection stickers, right? But that was a decision by the motor vehicle department, not the elected officials.
Like I say, if there is a way to deputize, fine, but when I got here 3 years ago and I saw what they were doing, I said, how in the world did you get by the 2010 Penridge ruling? But so far they have. I hate
Okay.
to have these 3 collectors come forward and say, oh, by the way,
Right.
we want reciprocity here for back to 2010.
I don't know if they can do that, but you never know.
All right. What else? I know I had one. So are we up and running with our debt collector situation?
As of today, yes.
Yes, we just met with them today.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess no news yet now, I would imagine.
Yeah, we just fine-tuned some of what we're gonna be doing, and we sent the information all over to them,
Okay.
so we're in good shape.
All right. Do you have anything else? No? Anything else from administration that we need to know? Okay, well, that sounds like a wrap then. Ending at 7:26 and there's no public, so there you go. All right.